move mine off.
I'm gonna take the cap off too. So
No cap. No caps. This is all gonna make the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Blooper reel.
Obi.
Bantha poodoo reel.
Does it
And
mean something?
It's my
Oh,
Obi.
I thought that was like a cool thing.
It's an email draft.
I didn't even look that hard into it.
Oh boy, it's going to be a show today. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Heard the Nerds. I'm Keith. I'm joined by Rob and Cam. You know them. We've been here before. I'm not doing nicknames this week. Welcome boys. Welcome back. No puppets this week, but boy, do we have a big old episode this week.
Yeah.
I'm real excited about it. Before we get started, let's talk about our props today because we've got some very special ones. In the back, we have Rob. Tell us, this is like a red TIE fighter. Is that what it
Yeah.
is?
So this is a red TIE interceptor. Now this is actually a First Order TIE interceptor. This is, I believe, the character's name is Captain Von Reg from the First Order.
From the First Order. Okay.
And
this is a recent set.
Yeah, so this is from the series Resistance, which
Okay.
was a Disney XD show. To be honest, this is one of the few blind spots I have in my Star Wars knowledge. I've only seen the first season, which was not great. To be completely honest, where it ended is like where I wish it had gotten much sooner. And
Okay.
I won't spoil it, but it's definitely aimed at a younger audience in general. But Commander Von Reg, super cool looking like red First Order trooper armor. He's got this dope looking like TIE interceptor ship, and he continues the Star Wars tradition of being a super cool looking character that does not do a whole lot.
I love it. just like all the Inquisitors in this show.
Very much so.
Excellent.
Very
Made
much
for the
so.
action figure, not for the character development. Okay, it's
Exactly.
cool, man.
But it's a dope looking set. I
It's
really
really
like the
cool.
look of it.
yeah. I mean, you'd see that coming from a mile away, though.
Oh,
I
you
will
sure
say.
would.
Like, it's very not. It's very red.
Yeah, he's supposed to be kind of like a Red Baron type figure, like a First Order fighter ace that like is a
Yeah.
problem for the Resistance. But
He's flashy about it.
Yeah.
Very exciting news. Rob's going to Disneyland this week, and
Yes.
and what's on the to get list at Galaxy's
Ooh,
Edge?
I'm really hoping to get my hands on some of both Jedi and a Sith holocron. Both of some of the other props here. I already have my two lightsabers from the Build Your Own Saber attraction at Disney. This is-
BYOS.
Yes, bringing your own saber. This is both. That's the one in front is my saber. The one in back is my wife's. And I might even just look at getting some kyber crystals because one of the cool things on these is you can take them apart easily and then replace the crystal inside.
Yeah.
and to make the blade a different colors.
I've seen on TikTok there's like the black crystals, like the
Yep.
really rare one that people
Yeah.
are buying like way too many things to
I believe
get
it.
It's
I believe it.
Makes sense.
people will do that sort of thing. Yeah.
But I'm thinking about yellow because like when you do the experience, they only give you like a limited color choice. I mean,
Oh, interesting.
I say limited. It's most of the colors they have available, but then of course there's a few that
Yeah.
are just you have to get
Okay, got
outside.
it. Got it.
Yeah.
Sweet. And there's a jar of dirt as well.
A jar of dirt, which actually was a gift from you. This is you can know more about it than I will, but this is dirt from Navarro, the
Yeah,
planet
that's right.
on Mando, both season 1 and briefly in season 2.
Yep.
The start of my collection. I intend to someday hopefully get bits of dirt from the different areas where they filmed different Star Wars things. I think
Yeah,
would
like
be
the desert.
really-
Desert's what's that desert up there that they filmed in?
Tunisia?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's-
the
it's
Tunisian
in
desert.
Tunisia, but there's also one in. I was just watching the behind the scenes on Moon Knight, and they were talking about how it's this. It's funny because Oscar Isaac went to this same desert 3 times in 1
Oh,
year.
really?
For Dune, Star Wars, and Moon Knight.
That makes sense.
And it was. But anyway, that desert.
Yeah, I got to go there. Got to go
Yeah.
to Muir Woods where I know they
Yeah.
did some of the
Yeah,
indoor
yeah,
shooting.
yeah.
I hopefully as I travel the world, I'll be able to find some. Maybe some snow from wherever they. I forget where did they go for
Iceland.
Hoth for Iceland.
Was it Iceland? Okay.
Yes.
It'll turn into water,
Pretty
but
sure,
it'll
yeah.
be kind of cool to have it at
It
least.
gets some.
It,
fake
it stays
snow
in the freezer. Be like, why is there this jar of snow in the freezer?
Yeah.
Everywhere
Andrea will
we
be
go.
thrilled.
Oh, she'll love it.
It'll be a jar of water at some point. but-
It just has to stay in there, or else it won't be the snow from Hoth anymore. Okay, I have to have it.
Every snow crystal is different, right? So
Exactly.
it's Hoth snow. It's just like has got like a brief odor of tauntaun in it. There's just like
I gotta be
and
honest,
mass death.
Tauntauns look like they stink.
Yeah.
Like up there, like Eopies definitely look like they stink, especially because you get that little fart scene in episode 1. But
Yeah.
Tauntauns definitely look like they are.
scene.
Oh my
god.
Oh yeah.
The gag.
You know what else I think really definitely smells in Star Wars? That blue milk stuff looks Just like it smells.
I've heard it
like
tastes
the
terrible
death.
on set too. It doesn't taste good.
I believe it.
Or
That is
that's what Mark
Serving
Hamill
at
said,
Crafty
yeah.
right now, blue milk with
Like,
your
no.
cereal. Good lord.
that is something that they do also serve at Disneyland and Star Wars Land, and I will not buy it. That will make me so sick.
I feel like it's gotta
day.
taste like the Lucky Charms milk, but just the blue marshmallows. I mean,
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, I did usually when I ate Lucky Charms back in the day. Used to.
you don't eat Lucky Charms anymore.
I don't really eat a lot of cereal these days, and it comes down to I don't do milk much.
Yeah, that's fair.
Milk is
there's,
tough for
There's
me.
milk substitutes.
Dairy is
but
tough.
Yeah, but like once it's like a habit I've broken, and now that I
Yeah.
don't have that
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, you
it's
don't want to mess with that, or
Yeah.
lactate or
Yeah.
any of that stuff. Well,
Yeah.
who knows? You might not need it for blue milk though,
Yeah.
because who knows what
Yeah.
kind of milk.
It's not even milk at this point.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I would not do well in the Star Wars universe where blue milk seems to be very much a part of the regular
It's a
diet.
very
It's
much
Bantha
a part of
milk.
the thing.
Yeah.
You're not gonna drink any.
And then
Bantha
whatever the hell Luke was drinking.
Is it Bantha milk? Really?
Yes.
I thought it was
Episode 8.
from. That's what those things were on that island. Those gigantic.
No, so on Tatooine it's Bantha milk. That's
Okay.
what they say the blue milk is. What he's drinking on that thing is not. It's not blue milk.
What is it?
It's green.
Octo is the
Octo,
planet, right?
yeah.
Yeah, something else.
Lucas has a fetish for milk from animals.
Straight
It sounds like.
I mean,
straight from the animal.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a
He's
whole
from a-
other
he's on a-
episode of the show. I don't know.
He's from a farm. So
Yeah.
like,
And
I'm
that's
sure it
okay.
transfers.
Okay,
Rustic.
Okay. That's right. He is from a farm. I should remember that.
They didn't have water. They just had Bantha milk. Like
Oof.
the water was their product.
All right,
they
all
were
right,
selling
all
the
right.
water.
What do you guys think is the grossest animal in Star Wars? Stink or otherwise? I think
The-
what. Go ahead.
Mine's a toss-up between the Sarlacc pit and the wart frog thing that lives outside of Jabba's palace.
Oh, that's the Sarlacc is. I mean, that's,
I bet you do smell the Sarlacc from
Oh, I'm
a
sure.
few miles away.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
thing must be absolutely rancid.
those. What are the things that the Tusken Raiders ride?
The Banthas?
Those
The
are
Banthas.
Yeah.
I bet those smell like some pretty wet dog after about like.
Oof.
I mean,
Do you know
there's-
those were elephants actually?
Were they really?
So in the original, they didn't do it now because I'm sure there'd be animal cruelty issues in that. But yeah, for
Probably.
the first episode 4, they were elephants. They dressed up as banthas.
Oh, cool.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm sticking with the Eope. Those things just, even though there's
Yeah.
no fur on those,
Yeah.
those look
Honestly,
like
the
they
no
just-
fur makes them look gross. Actually,
Yeah,
It's like
I don't know.
For some reason, I don't picture Jabba. I don't have an image of Jabba being particularly bad smelling, but I'll bet that. I mean that pit and like that, just that. When,
Yeah, I think
with
his
the
palace
trapdoor,
probably
the
gotta
palace
reek.
is
It's gotta
probably
reek.
just like
Dank.
Everybody's sleeping on top of each other.
I
There's
mean-
no shower facilities.
Ugh. people dying everywhere. Like just
You know, he's so rich. I wouldn't be surprised if Jabba himself and most huts are like, kind of bathed in perfume, so maybe they
Yeah.
themselves don't smell, but I bet their breath is just.
Oh,
my-
yeah, that
that
scene when
tongue?
Leia's really close to his face.
Oh, with the 4-foot tongue that comes out. Oh my
No.
god.
Oh, and of course we, what's I can't believe I'm blanking on it right now. But what's the monster that lives out in the Hoth wastes?
The Wampa?
The Wampa. Oof. That thing has got to be
Wampa.
bad. The Wampa cannot be a good smell. No.
Ugh. And I mean, but I think the Tauntaun is definitely up there with the innards of the. I mean, Han says it. I mean, it's a whole thing.
I
but-
thought they smelled bad on the outside. Yeah, we have confirmation. Tauntauns smell bad. They're not good. There we go.
All right, well, let's talk about the show, why don't we? Let's hop right into the tank. We're going to play the spoiler warning if you haven't heard it before.
This message is a warning and a reminder for any and all listeners or watchers of the Bacta podcast. Spoilers ahead.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Spoilers
Sure.
ahead.
do it.
Spoilers
Been warned.
ahead.
Been warned.
Ye be warned.
Turn back now.
Rob, first of all, I just want to say what a pleasure it has been being here in person. I will be on Zoom next week because I'll be out of the country, but being here with you gentlemen has just been an absolute pleasure, and I'm very excited to talk about this excellent episode. So, Rob, take it away with the rundown. Go.
For sure. Here we go. Going to start out with a flashback scene to Coruscant sometime before Attack of the Clones. Obi-Wan and Anakin are getting some lightsaber training in. Just going to knock out this whole thing right here, even though we do come back to the scene throughout the episode as it plays out. And the action mirrors a lot of what the chess match is going on between Obi-Wan and Vader throughout. And we see that, while they are both close at the time, both in skill and in their friendship, Anakin is clearly a talented and relentless fighter, but Obi-Wan still has plenty of tricks in his bag to train and teach his impatient Padawan. Anakin takes his lesson, but there's clearly some resentment in his eyes. In the present, though, Riva updates Vader that Obi-Wan has arrived at the Path base on Jabim, and for her hard work, Vader promotes her to the Grand Inquisitor. When Obi-Wan arrives with Leia and the others, Roken says that it's time for them all to GTFO. Everybody starts packing their things, and Roken tells Obi, hey, I'll get Leia back to Alderaan once I have gotten everybody else to a safe place. Unfortunately, evil Lola has snuck out of Leia's pocket and has started tampering with the base controls and locks and basically shuts all the bay doors, trapping them all inside as the Imperials, led by Riva, land an invasion force to smoke them out. We see General Kenobi return as he starts giving out orders and plans to try to get everybody out alive. As the Imperials try to knock down the door, the barricaded door, Leia crawls into a small vent to see if she can fix the wiring keeping the bay door locked. Obi-Wan gets a message from Bail saying that he's getting nervous, that he hasn't heard any updates, and will head to Tatooine to check on Luke. After, Tala checks in with Obi-Wan, and we hear how she has witnessed Imperials killing unarmed families of Force sensitives, and that's what inspired her to defect. The Imperials are getting close to knocking down the door, so Obi-Wan goes to negotiate. He speaks with Riva and discovers that she was a youngling on the night of the Order 66, once that went out, and barely escaped with her life after Anakin killed her friends. Though she blames Obi-Wan for this tragedy, he figures out that Vader is her ultimate prey, and everything she's done has been to get close to him for revenge. After the talking is over, Riva opens the door with her saber, and the members of the Path run for the ships. Obi-Wan tries to cover as they retreat, but ultimately both Ned B and Tala sacrifice themselves to allow everybody to get to safety. Knowing he is the ultimate prize, Obi-Wan surrenders himself to the Imperials and to let the others escape, but he gives his most important belongings to Haja, who has also fled to Jabim. Brought before Riva, Obi-Wan convinces her that by letting him and the others go, it will give her the perfect opportunity to backstab Vader, as he is blinded by his own desire for revenge against Obi-Wan. As Vader lands, evil Lola attacks Leia, but she removes the restraining bolts on her, turning her back to good. With the droid's help, she gets the doors open, and everybody gets ready to leave, just as Vader marches in the door. One of the ships takes off, and he wrestles it to the ground with the Force and tears it apart like styrofoam. But
Rip.
Just a distraction, the other ship loaded with the Path people flies off while Riva attacks him from behind. It turns out this was not the perfect opportunity for revenge, as Vader absolutely schools Riva. Part of her plan's failure is that he knew about her treachery all along, as the original Grand Inquisitor still lives and told Vader everything behind the scenes. They leave her with the same stab wound she gave him, strip her of her title and rank, and leave her for dead. As the Path ship gets away, Roken tells Obi-Wan that their hyperdrive is busted and the Imperials are behind them, but Obi-Wan is distracted by a bad feeling. On Jabim, it seems, Haja dropped Obi-Wan's communicator as he fled, and as the wounded Riva watches Bail's message, she realizes Obi-Wan is protecting a boy on Tatooine, which is sure to be her next stop on the last episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Woo!
Mm-hmm.
Well done.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Thank you.
What an episode. This is basically the episode of the podcast where I get to go, I told you so, every 5 minutes.
I know. Honestly, though, it's very interesting looking at how many of our predictions came true, like full send.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. There was, and I have to say, as much as I'm like, oh, man, I wish I didn't see that coming sometimes, I actually was very happy to see how like, it was done in such a way that I was like, okay, I'm glad I was right. And I'm not mad that I was. Yeah, I wasn't like. It didn't feel cheesy or bad. It was just like they were good predictions and they came true, so that was good.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I think we all kind of had put together pretty early on that Riva was somewhere, one of the children that we saw early on. Otherwise, why have that scene at all?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
But the surprise to me is that her ultimate prey, or who she's going after, is Vader.
Oh yeah, that was a huge. It was really well done. Yeah.
That wasn't on my mind. It wasn't what I was thinking of, but it makes total sense the way she laid it out.
I had suspicions.
I mean, how did you guys? I know there's been some talk about people kind of whether they buy that or not, and what everything she's done to get to Vader. Did you guys? How did that sit with you? That reveal.
My thing was, I didn't mind the reveal at all. It was a little like I was ready for Riva to be like, yeah, I'm actually after Anakin because I saw what he did like firsthand.
Right.
But my thing was when she went to face him, it was almost like you were clearly outmatched, and you both visually she wasn't as good a fighter as him because she doesn't have the same experience, and just in my mind I wouldn't have stood toe to toe with Vader at that moment. Like even as saying is like, oh, it's the perfect opportunity, you'll catch him off guard. It's still Darth Vader. You've seen what he can do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I will agree with on some level. I was like, oh man, like this is the moment she's choosing to do this.
Yeah,
and
I was
but also like it also didn't really line up with the plan that Obi kind of hinted at. He's like, he's gonna be so distracted with me that you're just not gonna see it coming. So like what I wanted it to be like, he didn't seem distracted until like they had already taken off, and he's just like sitting there like, well, that sucked. And it's just like, and then she decides to come up
Yeah.
behind him, and I'm like,
It's like,
yeah,
you-
you could have timed that a little bit better
You
there.
attack him when he's
Agreed.
force gripping the ship.
Right.
That's the distracted moment,
Yeah.
not when he's like coming to his senses.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I agree. Her timing on that attack.
that's why I was like, you're clearly outmatched. Why are you fighting him now?
But I actually totally bought the whole she's planning against him situation. I think when you turn to the dark side, you are motivated by revenge, and you are motivated to do things
Agreed.
you would never do have done before. Like for example, like I think perfect example was Anakin. Like he just is told he's a Jedi one moment, he gets told to do this thing, he kills Windu and like helps the and he just is overcome with like this evil, but we all know that Anakin's still underneath there, and he's doing this because he thought he was doing all that stuff because he thought it was going to save Padme, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, do you really buy that? Like, he's a smart guy. Why would he? It's never been an issue for me. It's like she's so motivated by her hate and her revenge and all that stuff, and I think Vader saw that, knew about it, was like, this chick is motivated by revenge and all the things that make you A, malleable, B, dangerous, and C, super great dark side material.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
why would he not bring her into the fold as opposed to anything else? So.
No, I 100% agree. I know some people were kind of like, oh, well, like, you know, why would she do those very things that she was the victim of? And for me, it worked because it's like, well, hurt people.
Yeah,
That's-
people,
yeah.
it's very
It's
true.
a cyclical.
Yeah.
And, you know, at the end when Obi-Wan's just like, oh, you'd want to prevent Vader from doing all of this thing, repeating what he did
Yeah.
to you, to these children. I don't think that was really part of her motivation for doing it at that point, really. I
Yeah.
think she just was blinded by the opportunity for that
Yeah,
revenge.
yeah.
And saving the people was just
Yeah.
coincidental.
Yeah, I think if we had gone into the whole, like, you know, I get Obi-Wan trying to appeal to her humanity, and I think he's the best person to kind of do that. But if we know anything about Obi-Wan, that doesn't usually work out for him.
Yeah, yeah.
He's always called the great negotiator, but they don't always come
It doesn't
through.
always work out.
He
so well.
certainly is known as the negotiator.
And like I was saying, if we had seen her be like, oh no, the kids, I would have been like, come on.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't have bought.
I
a
wouldn't have
full
bought
turn
that.
like that.
Based on how she'd been acting every other instance in the show,
Yeah.
her to flip that much that
Yeah.
quickly would have been odd.
And I'm really also glad. I didn't ever think this was an option, honestly, even though, like, we'll probably scroll back and I said this at some point, but the people were worried about her turning to the light,
Yeah.
which I was not. I was really not worried about it.
No.
She's just too much of a
Yeah,
force of
I didn't-
evil at this point.
I didn't think that was really on the table.
It would take more than a pep talk with Obi-Wan to do it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
for sure. Pep talks
Through
everyone
the
tend to go
door.
the other
Yeah.
direction with
Exactly.
the force. So just saying.
Very true.
Too soon. Yeah. Speaking of Obi-Wan and his teaching experience, let's talk about the flashback. What did you guys think of the flashback? Did you like it? Did we not like it? What are our thoughts?
I mean, who wants to go first?
You can go first. You seem
I-
like you're on it.
Overall, I really enjoyed that they did it. My personal opinion was I feel like they set it in the wrong era for us to not notice how old people have gotten. Because, like, you can clearly see Hayden Christensen is not, like, 19 or 20.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think they did a decent job. Like, I bought it. I'm like, I knew what era they're set in.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
like, pre-Attack of the Clones. I'm assuming it's not
Yeah,
after because he still
episode
had his
2.
hands.
I think it's episode 2. Just like somewhere in the mid.
But I feel like it would have been a little because I already saw someone at some YouTube videos like, oh, I de-aged Anakin for this scene already, and I'm
Sure.
like, they're already doing all of that. I'm glad they didn't go that route to like totally do the facial fixing and all that. But I think they could have said it post Attack of the Clones, and maybe that would have helped with Anakin's aggression more and like his motivations in that scene.
Yeah.
Would have played out a little bit better, and it would have been easier to, I think, have him in that scene and not be as recognizably older as he is supposed to be.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with a lot of that. It's definitely pre or during Attack of the Clones because Anakin still has
Yeah.
his right arm at that point, and he does in the scene. But I agree. I mean, mad love to Hayden Christensen. I actually thought his performance, I mean, granted it was a short performance and mostly action, but I mean, I thought it was better than a lot of what he put out in the prequels, and I mean that with all due respect. But I think, and I know he said that he had watched a lot of Clone Wars leading up to this, and there was even some of the lines that felt like he was delivering it kind of like the actor that played Anakin on Clone Wars. But I enjoyed it. I think it worked thematically quite a bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, very well.
And I love to see. I mean, there was so much of the fight choreography that lined up with their battle on Mustafar. That you really saw.
I didn't think of that. Wow. Yeah.
The difference,
the double dodge scene and all that.
The like, as they kind of, and even his like twirl behind the back, and even seeing the difference between how Anakin fights versus how Vader fights, and how there is like a flourish and a joy in the way that Anakin approaches it, and now Vader is so
it's like brute force.
Just there's no flash to it. He's just killing you as fast as he possibly can.
Or as humility, as much humiliation as possible.
Absolutely.
With that whole scene with Riva, which we'll get to in a second. I think they did de-age them a little bit.
They might have.
I'm pretty sure they did. But I was kind of like, it felt like a spare, not a strike, if we're using bowling metaphor here. Because I was like, why did we, the choices, the fact they did it, and I understand why they said it when they did, because they wanted Obi-Wan to be the master and Anakin to be the Padawan, and I think that's important. But I think there will always be that sense, right?
There was always that. I mean,
regardless of when they said it.
Episode 3, they referred to, like, there's a scene in episode 3 when Obi-Wan has to remind Anakin that he's not the Padawan anymore. He's like, now we're on equal footing now. And there's always going to be that hierarchy, I think, between them in their relationship. Yeah.
I thought the message of Obi-Wan telling him, like, when you don't have to prove yourself anymore, that's when you'll be able to, and I thought that was a really, really great message, and to pair it with, like, going back and forth to Vader and the whole, and Obi-Wan being, again, fighting smarter, which I think is a really great theme for him, of like getting people out of there, his strategic, and when he was like going into general mode, I was like, heck yeah, like that's, I really love that part of him, and it just felt all very in line with all the characters. Why did we decide to put it in the Jedi Council room without any of the furniture on the marble floors? I don't know.
Actually,
I don't know where it was, but that's what it felt like.
I think if you look at what the Jedi Temple looks like, there's 5 like spires. There's one in the center, which is the council chamber, and then there's 4 ancillary ones. I think one of them is a training room that they were in, that they're fighting in.
Got it.
That's what I think.
Just where everything's shiny.
I've seen other Star Wars content when they're fighting in rooms like that, and I'm like, are they just removing all the furniture all the time? There has to be a training room.
My overall note was I love what they did. I wish they had done it a little bit differently. I think there's so much potential for great flashbacks.
Yeah.
And the fact that they chose to do it in that way with that wig on Obi-Wan.
Yeah, the wig was a little.
I was like, just make it as easy and believable as you could possibly make it. That to me, that room was clearly on the volume.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the cheaper way to do it, except for they went cheap on the wig and the makeup, etc. And I'm like, if you're gonna have 2 people in a room with windows and nothing else around them, and they need to look amazing, because it's all about them. But I love the fight choreography. Again, using the theme to go back and forth from the current time, I think really connected the show really well, and I think Hayden did a great job.
So I have a question. Would you guys see live action Clone Wars content with them in it after seeing this scene?
I mean, are they doing what's in Clone Wars, like full on, or are they?
They're not gonna like remake the show, but they could do, like, say they did like a mini series of like Clone Wars adventures, and they did have Obi-Wan and them in them. Yeah,
I mean, as Rob said in another episode, you kind of put Star Wars on it, I'm gonna watch it. So.
Yeah,
especially Ewan McGregor, like as Obi-Wan. I mean, that's my Obi-Wan that I grew up with, so I'm like full send on that. I'd be a little worried about it. I definitely would have my reservations.
That's fair.
I think that's definitely.
Yeah, I'm with you, Keith. Where I'm just like, I mean, if they made it, I would check it out. I think they'd be in kind of a tricky position with the Ahsoka casting, because as old as obviously Ewan and Hayden Christensen have aged. Ewan, we're on a first name basis. But like, Rosario Dawson is clearly playing Ahsoka at a much different age.
Yeah,
I'm more excited to see her do Ahsoka at that age than I would be to see Obi-Wan and Anakin. I feel like the Clone Wars did such a great job of that, and to do that practically at this age with Hayden and with Ewan, as you said, first
First
name
name basis.
would be a very big challenge, and I think that the youth of the two, like if we had done that like 10 years ago,
Yeah, that's the thing.
perfect,
Sure.
nailed it. But we chose to make the sequels instead.
Yep.
So that's how we do.
It is what it is. And I really do encourage people, if you haven't seen the animated shows, especially Clone Wars and Rebels, to check them out. Like, they are just as good as the live action stuff, and there are moments in there that really are both moving and touching, and some really great characters, a really great cast of characters both on both shows.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have kind of asked for those moments to be played out in live action, and I just don't think there's any reason to.
I think there's enough room in those stories and in that time period where you could play out some moments in that time period, but not the ones that have already been done.
Right.
100%.
And
I think they could do. There's definitely enough content in the Clone Wars that I would love to see, even something just centered on clones as the characters.
I'd like a show like Bad Batch, or a show like about the clone.
Right,
clones
of course,
themselves.
Bad
I mean,
Batch.
I would totally buy that. Would love to see that live action to some extent. But I don't think it works as well as it does in animation, because you're able to replicate the same human and multiple
Much
times.
easier.
And
Plus, you got one guy playing all the voices.
yeah,
Like,
I mean
it makes sense.
that's really technically would be a nightmare. But I think just to plug, if you want to hear a whole episode about Clone Wars, or 2 episodes I think we did about it on this podcast, Heard the Nerds, you can scroll back, and we did a whole deep dive, and we watched them in a certain order, and there's a great guide we used, and Rob was instrumental in doing that, but it's a great episode of the show. So but anyway, coming back to Obi-Wan,
Yes.
let's talk about the Riva Vader battle, because I feel like that to me was the first time we got to see, other than Rogue One, Vader go, I'm going to handle this, and just one-on-one with all the tricks and trades, and just like,
I have to say, the moment when he split the lightsaber in 2 and tossed her hers, I was like,
wow.
let's. He was like, let's go.
Yeah, I thought that was such a great try.
Yeah.
Go
That's
Go
literally
ahead.
like
Go
a-
ahead.
Sure.
Just try.
Like, Vader was not. He didn't think he was going to lose at any point in that fight.
No, he was not
He
surprised
was
for
playing
1
with his
second.
food. I mean, that's really what it came down to.
Yeah, he didn't even use his own lightsaber
No.
in the fight once. He took hers, gave it to her, then took it back,
Yeah.
and then, basically just, impaled her with her own weapon. It was ultimate disrespect.
I thought he was going to decapitate her.
I saw it when she was
thought
on her
he was
knees.
gonna
I was
do
like, is
that.
this going to be
I mean,
another
it's-
Count Dooku moment? But then I'm
yes.
like, that would be very intense in an already intense episode.
Yeah.
yeah.
That we've already had. Like, there's that parents disclaimer at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, this is probably the nicest Vader has ever been to an Inquisitor that's disappointed
Oh,
him.
really? Yeah.
Considering, again, check out the Vader comics Marvel run, especially the one that started in 2017, covers the pre-episode 4. But he has a lot of run-ins with the Inquisitors. He's training them, and he's a brutal teacher. And when they fail, there's usually not a second chance.
Yeah.
Let alone a third, or even just like, if you disappoint him, most times he doesn't leave you to die. He kills you. He does. He would decapitate
He makes sure.
them.
Yeah.
So yeah, even as bad as it was still a pretty merciful Vader move.
I think I agree with that. I kind of wished, to make that a little bit more in character, they had let the Grand Inquisitor do the same thing to her. I think
sure.
that would have been kind of perfect.
Yeah.
Extra disrespect.
Yeah. And like, he's like, you're not even worth me stabbing you through the chest. But it plays in I mean, you could play the reveal of the Grand Inquisitor, which, as you predicted, came back and was playing everyone the whole time, which I think was great.
Looking at the timeline, it was one of those things where I looking back, I was like, oh gosh, I hope I didn't spoil it for people that haven't watched Rebels. But he's such an instrumental character in the first season. I'm like, well, this guy can't be gone.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the big bad of the first season of
Interesting,
Rebels. And I think it's even possible he's the one that told Vader who Riva was, because
I think so.
he had been a temple guard at the Jedi Temple.
Yeah,
that's such
most
a cool
likely.
backstory.
And they get very much into that. He's craves knowledge and really wants to get into the Jedi archives. He's a very interesting character.
Yeah.
And I would definitely say, they did a pretty good job with him.
The actor's good. I mean,
they played around with the look a little bit, but I think mostly it's successful. And he's a really interesting character. And if you enjoyed him, definitely check out Rebels.
Yeah, for sure. I also just really enjoyed the kind of the force blocks that he was just like, you know,
Yeah.
and
Cool.
boy, oh boy, I did not expect him to pull that ship down. I was like, the second he caught that, I was like,
Yeah.
I feel bad for the pilots that had to risk their lives to fly that ship.
that was my next question.
I was wondering
who
about
was
that.
on the ship. Who was on the decoy ship? I mean, I guess you could put it on
I'd say,
autopilot,
or
but
some
like,
droid. You could just have some
yeah,
droid do
I
it.
mean, but I was like,
Somebody drew the short straw.
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
that.
somebody-
That is rough.
that is, yeah.
But I mean, yes, he held down the ship, or he brought it back down, which was definitely incredible.
But the rip open,
the rip open was where I was just like, oh no,
Yeah.
oh no,
I was-
oh no.
I was ready to see bodies just start. He was just gonna start pulling
Just
people
like-
out.
like picking weeds out of a garden or
Yeah.
something like that.
This
Jeez.
is one of those things that, like, when I tell Vader, like, no, or tell people about Vader, like, you don't understand the power that this guy is dealing with, because you see these moments usually not in live action
Yeah.
sort of storytelling, but seeing him get to that level of just, he's doing this with ease,
Yeah.
you know, not even breathing heavy at the end of it,
Yeah.
and he's just, I mean, this guy has obviously completely fallen to the dark side and is a absolute monster. with
Oh, he's
the
in his
Force.
prime, and that's we don't
yeah.
get to see Vader really in his prime, except in these moments now.
Yeah. I do wish they had. This is an editing thing. I wish they had cut it better so that when he ripped down the one and ripped it open, he wasn't looking like it. Just seemed like he was like, I did it once, or if we had seen a like moment of like, whew, that was a lot or something,
Yeah.
because I was
I'm
like, why
gassed.
didn't you just get the other one?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
like right there. If they're just like toys, like why don't you just get the other one? You
Yeah.
know.
That's a fair point.
That was to me my critique of like, come on, like
Mm.
we can do better than that. That's not that hard, right? It's
Yeah.
just a storytelling thing that I was like, man.
Or they could have had like a door open. They could have been shooting at him so he couldn't focus.
Yeah,
Something like that. I do get that because like when that one did fall down and the other one just like took off, I was like, wait, you're right.
Yeah,
Wait.
I think that's probably if there's any big like overarching critique of the series so far, and I think there is some to some extent which we can forgive Star Wars for not making sense or having a little
Sure.
logical, but there are a couple of things that could have been done filmmaking wise that I thought could have made it clearer and more logically like that makes sense. I mean, perfect example is this today, but then also the whole Tala rolling up with those 3 stormtroopers and Obi-Wan just goes, you know, like
Yeah.
or it's stuff like that where I'm like, you just go one step further, or the Inquisitor doing the stabbing as opposed to Vader. It's just those little things that I wish they had gone a bit further with, but it's just, you know, it's an embarrassment of riches. On
Yeah,
some level,
yeah,
so.
true. Yeah, I will say overall, I mean, this was probably my favorite episode.
Yes, I would
yeah,
agree with
I
that.
would
My,
say, yeah.
my
What
favorite
we've seen.
episode, absolutely.
And there's been, you know, we've seen lots of little Easter eggs throughout. One of the ones that we didn't really mention that I want to kind of call out now because I thought it was pretty cool is actually the child that Haja helps sneak off of Dayu is a nod to an old Legends character.
Yeah.
So I'm looking in my notes right here. That he is credited as Corrin. And actually Leia gets to interact with this kid a little bit. You see in one shot after she gets off the ship. And he was in part 2. But this is Corrin Horn, and he is a Force-sensitive
what?
character. Who is a son of a Jedi named Nija Halcyon, who would go on not only to join the rebellion, but be a part of Rogue Squadron and eventually a Jedi Master himself in Luke's new Jedi Order. Obviously, you know, that's all old Legends stuff.
Yeah.
He was in the
war-
X-Wing books. I read a bunch of those with him in it as the
Oh,
main
sure.
character. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's who that is, and I know he was involved in the war with the Yuzhan Vong.
Yep.
But if I don't know if I'm butchering the
He's
name on that.
kind of like the Jedi that was never really talked about in the what existed during basically 4, 5, and 6. Is that right?
Are
He
you thinking of Kyle Katarn?
I think that's
There
what I'm
is
thinking.
Kyle
Yeah, Kyle Katarn's also he's a very similar like Corrin Horn rebel that's like got a lightsaber, has the Force, but doesn't appear in any of the movies or any of the
Yeah,
content.
right, and you know that obviously there's some issues. There's some stories like that. Obviously, Ahsoka is
Yeah.
around for 4, 5,
Yeah,
and 6. And
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
Off kind of doing her own thing. They kind of explain that with what happens in Rebels. Again, no spoilers there, but if you want to know why Ahsoka's not around for those movies, you can check that out
She's just
there.
like, nah, basically.
I'm
It's
out.
more than that, but yeah.
You know what? I'm busy.
I mean, they touch on it in
The galaxy's a big
Clone Wars.
place, okay?
Yeah, it is a big place. We never really appreciate how
True.
big the place.
But
is.
as far as we know, you know, again, based off of the Marvel canon, Corrin Horn does not join Luke's new Jedi Order, but maybe he goes on to live a happy life elsewhere after fighting with the rebellion. Maybe he's the father of Broom Boy.
Broom
from
Boy,
episode
Broom
8.
Boy.
Never
We
know.
love Broom Boy. Shout out Broom Boy.
Shout out to
Well,
Broom
don't know
Boy.
what happened. He became a broom boy if he is his son. Like, that kind of sucks.
He lost all his money at
Yeah.
those poker
Yeah,
tables.
he's
Not a
there.
good gambler, apparently. But yeah, Corran Horn was a really cool Easter egg that they put into this series.
Yeah, I think that's a nice one too. I know Dinks talked about it last week, but I do think that kid in the amber is the kid that he was talking about last week.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be
Probably.
a nod to that. I really
Yeah.
do.
Absolutely.
But who knows?
I also one of the things that I kind of wanted to get your guys' read on, because for me, I thought this was just an absolute epic fumble, is Bale, my guy. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Just leaving voicemails and text messages
Yeah.
places like
Spilling all the beans.
Especially if your message starts with, "I know I'm not supposed to call you,
Yeah.
but I'm calling you because I'm worried." Maybe don't make that phone call.
Maybe don't.
Like he was this close from just saying Anakin's son is on Tatooine and I'm
hey,
gonna
Bale,
go see
just
him.
like maybe don't.
Bale. He's done a lot of good for
Especially
the
'cause, like,
galaxy.
Politicians,
Bill
man.
has to be aware of like Obi-Wan's off saving my daughter, doing something probably with people who are gonna try and like capture him, and if he is not responding, why am I gonna give all this information?
Right.
Yeah, this is like when the officer pulls you over and it's like, do you know why you got pulled over? And you're like, well, I was speeding and there's this bottle of beer in the
Exactly.
car. It's like, buddy, what are we doing?
Just
What are we doing?
absolutely
Also,
epic fumble.
I did not know you could leave voicemails on those things.
Me neither.
That's a new gimmick.
yeah.
That's
Well, it's actually interesting because if you look at like especially in the prequels when they send holograms, there is like timeline gaps between like when people watch them and when they're like, because like when they get to the ship on Tatooine in Episode 2, when Obi-Wan sends that message, R2-D2 automatically relays it, and the Jedi Council watches it in that moment.
Yeah.
But then Padme and Anakin get back to the ship, and then they watch the same message, and then they decide to go to Geonosis.
Right.
Yeah, and a similar thing happens in Episode 1, I believe, with the people on Naboo reaching out to the Queen, saying, like, you must contact me. Things are really, really bad. And Qui-Gon's like, do not respond.
Okay.
Do not send out a message.
Fair enough. I guess I just pictured it more like a FaceTime thing.
For sure.
You know, it's
that's
like,
understandable.
why you can't leave voice, like video messages, like a voicemail
sure
on
it's coming in
FaceTime.
some
It
OS
blows my
update.
mind, but whatever.
That's actually that's a fair point. Apple, what are we doing? Give us the holograms.
iOS 16.
We're just coming for the big dogs on this show, Disney and Apple. That's just like, hear us out.
Another moment I kind of want to talk about, because I will say I got a little misty during this point, was the sacrifice that Ned B. and
I was going to bring that
Tala
up, how
made.
we felt about that.
Oh,
I actually
yeah.
I found myself getting kind of emotional, especially thinking back to, especially for Ned B. For whatever reason.
We care about the
yeah.
droids.
I
guys.
love the droid.
Those empty eyes just staring at her
Oh
as,
my
she,
God.
as
Yeah.
he dies,
That was
and it's
Wall-
like
that was
you have
Wally
the,
level
yeah,
of
I was
like, he just dies like protecting her, like
Yeah, especially with that serve up you got from his introduction in the third part, where she says, "Well, what if he has something to say?" And she says, "Actions speak louder than words," and his last action is to then shield her with his body.
I would have loved him to say something at the end there, though.
That would have
Like,
been
some
that would have been
noise.
such a Hodor moment. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
But and obviously it was one of those things where she's just like, take a look at my hash marks. That's for every kid I got.
I also
Yeah.
that insert too fast. I didn't know. I was like,
I
what am I
was
looking
like,
at?
where
here?
do I look? And then I when I rewatched, I'm like, okay, there's little dashes on her belt. It was very small.
That was the moment where I was like, she's not making it out of this episode.
That's fair.
That's just the red shirt going, putting
She
on
was
the red
wearing
shirt.
a red
Star
shirt.
Trek.
I'm one day from retirement, sort of thing. But for her, I was like, oh yeah, she's probably not going to make it. But then
I
Ned
didn't-
B.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of K2SO in Rogue One.
Yeah, yeah.
Very much so.
I did not think she was going to make it throughout the whole series. Didn't know if she was going to die this episode. though.
No.
How do we like the sacrifice of the thermal detonator?
I thought it was a little like, why are you holding it up in the air, dude?
They always got to. They got to show the enemy that hey, you guys are gonna die now. They got to make them aware.
I wanted the bowling strike down the middle of the and then like, you gotta go, and then boom,
I could see that for sure.
As
They wanted to remove all doubt of no, she's toast. She's absolutely
yeah,
done.
she has to die with it. That's why.
Yeah. But I did really like that moment, and I did especially kind of like the moment with the everything coming back around with Ned, who, though he had very little screen time, I found myself enjoying very much.
easily top 5 droids for me.
Yeah.
I could see
Top
that.
5, which is saying, okay, let's go down the list here. Top 5 droids for everybody.
Ooh, top 5 droids.
I'll go.
Can we do?
I'll go
is it
first.
only on screen?
It
or
is top 5
of all of Star Wars.
droids.
Okay, go for it. All right,
Okay.
Keith, you want to lead us off? You got
Number 1, R2. Okay, she's
Yep.
gotta have it.
Yep.
It's gotta have it.
it's yeah.
I would say number 2. The easy answer is 3PO here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the one I'm going to take. I think 3PO is number 2 for me.
Respect.
Number 3 is is actually this is kind of is the droid. I forget his name. He's on your back during.
Oh, BD1.
BD1.
BD1
is excellent.
BD1 is great.
And then our little beach ball.
Okay, got BB-8.
Got BB-8, and then it's Ned B.
Wow. All right. No, I mean that's respectable.
And K2SO is right around, as I say, right around there. Maybe could edge out Ned B, but that's.
For me too. R2 top spot number 1. Kind of have to.
Oh gee, gotta do it.
I would probably put K2SO as second for me.
Oh wow.
I really liked K2SO, and I really like Alan Tudyk's performance. Both.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he was all motion capture, but I thought his voice performance was great, and I thought his comedy was really effective. In the role. Similarly, I would say maybe number 3 for me is IG-11.
Yeah, IG-11 is definitely top 10 for sure.
He was just so great as even when he was both in bounty hunter mode, and his back and forth with Mando while they're taking out those bounty hunters is incredible. And then his final come around at the end of the season was really affecting for me. I would probably. So I have him at number 3. I'll put BB-8 as 4. Because I do really enjoy him. I mean, he's adorable.
Yeah.
And I've got the little roller droid toy.
The thumbs up with the lighter was I was like, all right, I'm on board.
And then sorry C-3PO, I'm gonna give it to BD1 for number 5. He's really great. I really liked.
Wow, 3PO not in the top 5. Okay,
3PO not in the top 5.
Fair
not
enough.
in the top 5 for me.
IG-11 to me is actually, I would say, is going to be number. I'm going to take that back.
Okay.
That's fair.
I'm going to take that back. I think he's got to be number 6 for me. Sorry, Ned B.
Sorry, Ned. Sorry, Ned.
So for me, I'm gonna be pulling from a lot of legends.
Go for it.
Number 1 would be HK-47.
I don't know who that is.
He's
from KOTOR?
He's from the video game Knights of the Old Republic
Oh,
and Knights of the
very
Republic 2. He's an assassin droid, HK series. They do reappear in The Mandalorian, the scene with Ahsoka, the 2 guard droids. Those are HK series droids. But HK-47, he's the best assassin droid you could have.
Got it.
He talks like when he speaks. If he's got a question, he starts the question with query and then says what he says, and then he's got like exclamation, and then we'll say what he says. Great personality, hates humans.
He's kind of like MS-DOS of droids.
Number 2 would have to be, I would say R2. I would definitely put R2. I mean, he's got to be in the top 5. It's R2.
You can't not.
Yeah.
You can't not.
Let's see. Number 3. Do you guys know who C-3PX is?
I don't know that I do.
That's the sex doll version of C-3PO, right?
No. It's the assassin version, actually. It's an assassin protocol.
It's like Weapon
droid.
X. It's like Weapon X.
Exactly.
Okay.
He's got red eyes. He's got guns that come out of like all over his arms.
Boy,
he's
wouldn't that
from
be funny.
the Droids comics. I was super into the Droids. Like, Droids were my thing. I watched the animated show, all the stuff.
Okay.
So that would be, was that number 3? Yeah, that was number 3.
Yeah.
Number 4 would put K2SO.
Okay.
He's one of my favorite characters from Rogue One. Bottom line, you guys already ran down why he's great. And then IG-11 from Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I will say there is a new evil C-3PO that's appeared in both the Vader comics and the Dr. Aphra comics. 000.
000.
He's like
jackpot.
Yep. He is exactly that. He's got like he's got a black exterior, but he does have the red eyes, which we got to see a little bit of in Rise of Skywalker as well. C-3PO turned on the red eyes for a little bit there.
I feel like we're forgetting somebody.
We are, and I will say I am surprised, and I'm sure there's a lot of people like if they're a fan of Rebels is probably screaming at us right now. A lot of people love Chopper, and while I do like Chopper, I don't want him on my flight team, and not because like he's definitely useful. He definitely helps out. He's got too much lip. He's got too much attitude. Like he's R2-D2, but with the attitude turned up like another 2 notches. And it's not that he can't come in handy, but he's always like they're asking him to do something, and then he talks back and like will just do whatever he wants to do instead, which gives him a lot of personality. It makes him. Kind of fun to
R2
watch.
does a fair amount of that, but you're always like, just listen to the blue droid. He's seen it all. Like he just. He's always right.
But I mean Chopper he's a really fun character, and he's a droid with PTSD because he he was in a Y-wing.
Yeah, I
that
was
went
gonna say
down.
he was the Y-wing droid.
And so that's why he doesn't like getting in Y-wings and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
He's
got
just
it,
like,
got it.
He has flashbacks, but he's a really fun character. But I will say he's not on my top 5 droids.
I would say, and it's kind of a little bit nebulous that somewhere in my top 10 would have to be like the Trade Federation droids, like the Roger Rogers.
Which one?
I mean, there's
There's a
some.
lot.
There's the one in Clone Wars that keeps popping up. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
No, who are you talking about?
He's like the captain who like,
The flat-headed one.
yeah
Yeah, they're cool. Yeah, the
Yeah.
captains
So I
or
would-
whatever, the commander droids.
commander.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just. There's some really funny moments in there with
Yeah.
those guys, and they serve a purpose. They allow the Jedi to be badass and cut things down and
Very
not
much
be
so.
killing
Exactly,
people.
yeah.
So like,
We can
we
forgive.
salute you, Roger Rogers.
Salute.
Another point that I wanted to bring up too that I thought really made this episode as good as it is I really feel like Obi-Wan's starting to kick it into gear. Like I feel like
I did see this episode.
his character is starting to buy into the whole like I have to do something. I can't just stand here. There's no more of that like I don't know if I can or
Yeah,
not.
because I mean,
And-
I think there was a second when he was kind of looking at everybody that he was like, okay, I have to save these people because I can't just be like, forget about you, Leia and I are leaving.
Yeah.
Like he was like, that's not an option anymore.
yeah, like the general, the
They started calling him General, and
right,
he just fell
the-
right in line.
the Jedi Master. It's just like it's like all right, gigs. I'm here. Let's do this. Let's figure it out. I was kind of when let's talk about that moment also when we saw all the lightsabers.
I was about
and
to
the
bring that up,
cloaks.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a on that note, the lightsaber he picks up that's like all black like that.
Yeah.
I think that's Quinlan Voss's lightsaber.
Is
And
it?
I don't know if that's a
Oh.
nod to him being deceased. I don't know if those are dead Jedi's lightsabers or whose they are, but
I think they are dead Jedi.
I would
I
assume
read it
so.
as it was them like I'm stripping myself.
That's I was like, it could either be
okay,
they're dead
okay.
or they're like, this gives me away, so I can't use
like they
this.
came through the path and now they're just
Yeah.
like wiping and they're like
Yeah,
going off to the.
they've moved on, which I will say like that's pretty ballsy of the path to be just like hanging on to that contraband.
They're just in a box,
The
too.
only people that hang on to lightsabers, generally speaking, are ones that have killed them.
Yes,
True.
They're like collection Grievous, that whole 9 yards. So the
Yes.
fact that they're just chilling in that box, that's why I was kind of like my mind immediately went to, okay, this is probably deceased Jedi, and they're maybe hanging on to them for Force sensitive people, just because maybe who knows who needs them. But I was kind of hoping that Obi-Wan was going to pick up a second lightsaber.
Yeah,
I was
that
like,
would've-
I was like,
Yeah.
you know, it's game time. Let's see you do your thing with two, right? You
sure.
know, we've seen him fight with two before.
If not now, when?
Yeah.
I'm just like, where did that box go during the entire Galactic Civil War? We're like, we lost all these lightsabers. We could have just passed them out to people.
In the same spot where the two lightsabers were at Maz Kanata's.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
This
Yep.
is another box. Of
That's a
all the
story for
lightsabers.
another
Yeah.
time, Cam.
That's it. Yeah.
I will say there. I know that there's somewhere I believe on Nal Hutta there's supposed to be a hut that collects like Jedi stuff, and Luke runs into him at some point. He's a pretty terrible guy, but maybe he got his hands on it, and
Yeah,
he's
maybe.
got an extensive.
Maybe they
lightsaber
sold
collection.
them. They needed money. Like just sell these lightsabers.
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll go for a lot.
Wow.
I'm sure they could flip
Yeah.
those for quite a bit of coin, for
Yeah, I
quite a
mean-
bit of credits.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I also did love Haja coming back. I thought that
That
was
was
kind
fun.
of a
Yeah.
fun little cameo, and the fact that he's like, there's a lot of room for business here. I was like, and Obi just like shakes his head. Like I like that there's just kind of a little bit of a playful.
Yeah, the scoundrel
something
scoundrel with a heart of gold is a fun Star Wars trope, and
Yeah.
it does feel like it's been a while since we've kind of seen one of those, a new version of that's been effective. And I do think he's even though he's Kumail Nanjiani's Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah.
He I think has been great in the role, and I think
Yeah.
he's done really well. Because I too like even in that moment when he's just like. When we first see him and he and his little partner there are just like, oh well, we had him, we got to go get him. I was like, oh, he really is like full on bad. I wasn't sure if he was like, maybe he was sending Obi-Wan into a trap. I really didn't know. But
Yeah.
I think by now, having seen him and knowing that he sent him off to see Tala and how you know upstanding she is, because we've really seen I think the strength of her character in the episode she's in. That I was like, oh yeah, okay, no, he's here for the right reasons.
I also felt like the generally, like I thought this episode in particular, the B character, actually let's say C characters, felt like they were they were giving them the appropriate amount of screen time
Yep.
and lines. We talked about last week how I talked about, I should say, how I just gave O'Shea Jackson like too much, and we just needed to know who he, like, that he was the head of the path, and he was the guy in charge, and like we've seen that character before in different forms, and like
Exactly.
and so in this one it was very much like, okay, like we know who he is, we understand what he is, and they didn't go too far into characters unnecessarily. Same thing with Haja. We didn't hear about his whole path to get here. It was like, yeah, I couldn't find anywhere else to go. Great, move on.
Well,
Like,
and it makes sense he went there if that's where he sent Obi-Wan to then reconnect, I'm assuming, on Jabim. So
Yeah.
for him to know the location, I didn't need him to explain it.
right. It was just like we were like, okay, check mark and move on to the rest of the story. Which I think is good, because the more that we see of them, sometimes it's like, why are we spending so much time with them when we have Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi on the same planet? And
how did we feel about Leia? I think her taking that scene when she just like takes charge was very much like that. Like that's when she kind of becomes Leia's like that character.
Yeah.
Of just like this is how we have to solve it. You need someone who's small enough who's going to go in there. That's me.
Yeah. I thought it was great.
I loved Obi-Wan's trust in her when he's like, no, get her a ladder.
Yeah.
I trust what she's doing and her capabilities.
It felt very Star Wars. It felt right. It felt like a good moment. I was here for it.
Yeah, as soon as they were like, "Oh, the vent is too small," I was like,
yeah,
is that Leia's music coming through? I absolutely knew she was going to step up and get through. And luckily, she was able to save Lola. Lola definitely deserving of a timeout. Listen. The fact that they were kind of just like, hey, whatever happened. Hey.
I mean,
like, Lola has blood on her hands.
She do.
Leia didn't even seem to register that. She was like, "Oh, Lola, you're here. Take your restraining bolt off." What did that do? Why were you playing with these controls?
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, Lola's got some
she's got some splaining to do.
Yeah.
She needs
Memory
a little
wipe or
redemption
something,
arc, I think, because if I were somebody a family member got killed because this little hockey puck freaking cut the cord.
Yeah.
I'd be slapping that thing.
That thing's going to the Jawas for sure. No question.
I'll be doing the exact same thing that Flea did to it, just slamming it on the ground, stomping it out. New droid.
And it's like hiding in the cables. Like it's a bright red light. Why are we hiding in the cables? Like why are we doing this? I don't understand.
Just watching, waiting.
I think it was a good story moment, and did I think we need to cut back to it quite as much of Leia struggling to find which cable?
There was a lot of her.
It was a lot
because she wasn't doing a whole lot.
She wasn't doing a whole lot.
Yeah.
If anything, Lola saved the day when she took the restraining bolt
Is it
off.
this cable or this cable? Like,
It's the red one. But yeah, I mean, something else like that I kind of wanted to bring up is just like, just even kind of this is more legend stuff, but obviously a lot of planets in Star Wars have had, kind of nasty histories and have suffered cruel fates, Alderaan, of course, being one of them. But man, Jabim has got a lot of bad stuff that has happened to it throughout the course of Star Wars, especially in Legends. And I think some of what we even saw here is
wait, time out. Can you just explain that comment? Because I don't know what else has happened on Jabim. That was bad.
Oh, absolutely. I'm about to. I will
okay.
say. So this may have even been sort of a nod to some of the Legends, old Legends stuff, which Disney's been very much doing. They decanonized all of it, and then are just now kind of
cherry picking what they want
to bring back to into the main fold. And one of the things that they did is it was a very early Rebel base was on that planet, and they had launched an attack against the Empire. Vader then led an attack on the planet, then kind of wiped out the Rebel cell there. Luke ends up coming back and ends up kind of working with some of the locals, which is to start another rebellion there, which kind of has mixed results because as Cam mentioned last week, Anakin had been on there doing some pretty nasty stuff on Jabim during his time in the Clone Wars, so they're kind of just like, your name is Skywalker, huh?
Yeah. There's animosity definitely towards that.
But eventually they do end up setting up another rebel cell. That, however, gets sold out by the wealthy class of Jabim, who are just like, they go to the Empire and they say, hey, listen, we will sell out literally everybody on our planet. Just promise our safety. Everybody else who's left on our planet, you can just have them as slave labor. And they were going to sell out everybody into slave labor. Vader is one of those, like, I guess maybe, I don't know. Well, okay, it's bad. But, no, having been enslaved himself is just like, well, I'm not doing that. How about this? I'm going to basically bombard the planet from orbit so badly that it wipes out every living thing on the planet.
Yeah, it's not better.
It's not
But-
much better, is it? And then
Nope.
a few of them are able to hide in a fortress, which then they see just sort of like an Alamo situation. And then those survivors are, well, then rounded up and sold into slavery. So every single person that was on Jabeam suffered a terrible
It's just
fate.
real Jabad.
The place
as
to be.
opposed
It's real bad. So it looks
Places to avoid in the galaxy.
yeah. So if anything, if it ends up being anywhere near that
those
Legends
poor
canon,
Jabeamers.
it's a good thing the path got
Jabemians?
out of there.
Jabimite? Jabimites?
Jabimians. or something.
Ah,
Jabimians.
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 Yeah.
So yeah, really tragic history for Jabim, and
It's a Jabummer.
very big. Oh my god.
I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry. Oh, that was bad. Oh gosh.
But yeah,
That's well.
I guess one question. Do we think? I mean, we're all assuming that we're gonna see Riva on Tatooine when Obi-Wan goes back.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Or is she going? Do we think we're gonna see her come back in the 6th episode?
I think she's coming back in this episode because she's not dead.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know about the Tatooine of it all. To me, that was like, I wasn't 100% clear if she put 2 and 2 together.
Me
that
neither.
This is Anakin's kid.
Yeah. I think she might just think it's a Force-sensitive child that he's guarding.
Well, because then he drops the name Owen, and she's like, "Oh, Owen, his family. There's obviously a connection. She remembered that. So
Yeah.
That could
there
be
was
it.
a connection there. I don't think she was like, "Oh, Anakin has a kid and all that." I don't think she got there yet.
No.
But-
Okay. Here's my prediction. Right.
Oh.
Okay.
Hit us.
Hit it. Okay. So, I think we're gonna go back to wherever, maybe Tatooine, probably Tatooine, and there's gonna be a moment as to which Riva learns this secret, learns that there is hope, learns that this is the chosen one of some sort, or like that these kids are the future and that they may be the future of the Jedi and that they're really, really important. And she chooses to somehow sacrifice herself or like go down in flames to protect the kid as her final act.
I would love it if that were the case.
That's
I have a couple sinking feelings.
I don't.
My thing is, I think everybody's been asking for the fight between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan to come back, and I'm like, well, she had a double-bladed lightsaber. They're probably just gonna replay something similar in the Dune Sea of Tatooine. Have Riva and Obi-Wan fight.
The thing is, she's really messed up though. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, she got a saber through the gut.
Yeah. I mean,
People have had that before, but I agree.
right, and it really does like run the gamut. I know a lot of people have been kind of like sharing a lot of memes of Qui-Gon this week, kind of just like, what about me? A lot of people are getting stabbed in the gut and coming back from it doing fine. Darth Maul got cut in half. I get one little stab to the gut and I'm toast. Are you
They
kidding?
just were too late. Obi-Wan didn't act quick enough.
Right.
He didn't think.
And like the Grand Inquisitor says, like
And I think the dark side has something to do with
the
that,
quest
staying
for
alive.
revenge does a lot for one's
Yeah.
will to live, and Qui-Gon being a Jedi and one of the better ones is, he had no revenge in his heart
Yeah.
or hatred.
Yeah.
So he's at peace. He's willing to pass on and connect with the Force, and yeah.
Do
go his
we?
way.
And here's another potential possibility. I think that there's going to be this is a maybe to add on top of that. This maybe happen where you have Riva, you have Obi, you have like this some sort of climactic scene, and that's when Qui-Gon talks, and
yeah.
like to him and to
Yeah.
her,
Yeah, maybe.
and it's like
Interesting.
and it's
That'd be an
like
interesting
you this is this
Like,
is
what are you two
important.
doing?
This is important. This is the one. Trust me, I've foreseen something of that nature. Like
Yeah, it's true. And
because
that,
they gotta have Qui-Gon. I think
that
there gotta
is
be
a thing.
some.
that
Obi-Wan's been calling his name in this whole show. If he does not show up, I'm gonna be like,
he hasn't in
"That's
the last 2 episodes
know.
though. The first 2.
that is true." He's
the
kind
first-
of he's moved on a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that true has fallen completely off my radar, and I guess you just reminded me. Like, of course, we're gonna get Qui-Gon at some point.
Yeah.
But it's true. We're in the last episode, and we haven't heard them talk. That has to happen.
There's an
I
end
think
credit
so.
scene at the end of this next
Oh
episode.
god.
Yeah.
Just put it in the first 40 whatever minutes.
But
Jeez.
I could totally see a situation where it's almost like a scouring of the Shire type thing, which is kind of lends itself more to what you were saying, Cam, where obviously they're in the situation. They can't outrun the Empire directly, so I think there's still going to be another conflict between the path and the Imperials that are chasing them.
Yeah.
I could see it being something where it's just like, oh my God, we barely got out of that alive.
Yeah.
We finally.
Where do they go? Because they don't got hyperspace. They got to land somewhere and get something
Do
fixed.
we think the redemption arc of our little droid massacre person
Lola
is
fixes
Lola's
the
going to fix the hyperdrive?
I think that's very possible. I could see them getting out just by the skin of their teeth. They managed to get there. They think everything's good, and then Obi-Wan arrives back on Tatooine to find Riva waiting for him.
I can see the scene. She's gonna be in his cave. He's gonna go in there. The thing's gonna say someone's there, and then she's gonna pop out.
That's a good one.
They did set that up.
Or the droid's gonna be destroyed. And he's gonna be like, obviously somebody's here.
He does have to get a new hut at some point because this is
It's
Obi-Wan's
not the house.
not in a cave.
This is not the HUD you're looking for.
Bail Organa pays him handsomely. He's able to put down a mortgage payment, a down payment on that house that's at the cliffside.
That
It's got a
hack
great
and
view.
tuna wasn't quite doing it for him.
No, he can take a few weeks off from the meat chopping plant. Yeah.
I bet that carcass is long gone by now.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I hope so. Otherwise, it is going to be rancid.
Rank.
Talk about bad smelling animals.
Oh yeah,
that
thing
That'd
must have
probably
been
be, yeah.
ripe.
I bet it smells terrible. I mean, even the Jawa says, like, I could smell you from Anchorhead. That's
Yeah.
got to be
Yeah.
nasty.
Jawa's just telling it like it is. Okay, and now my other thing was we brought up, Cam had this great line where he was talking about how episode 4, episode 5,
Recalling?
recall. What were the recalls in this episode?
I mean,
episode 5, other than it being the
They're-
best one. So
Yeah.
was Empire
I was,
Strikes
gonna
Back.
say, I was saying that too, but they're hole up in. The Empire's trying to get them, and they're in a place that's impenetrable unless they do a ground assault, which they end up doing. And
Yeah, that's a stretch.
this one actually there was a stretch to it.
Okay.
That's the biggest part I can see that relates to The Empire Strikes Back was kind
So-
of Darth Vader's bravado and like coming down and having his moment.
Here's where my mind went on it is like, that's the first time we get the conflict, real conflict between Luke and his father, right? And there's that like he learns the truth about his father, and then this one Riva, who's the kind of the Padawan, like they have their first real battle, and she learns the truth about. Or Obi-Wan learns the truth about her, but there's like a big truth that's revealed.
Yeah, the big truth is revealed. You're right.
Which I kind of a big plot twist in the show and in the arc of the characters and stuff like that. So I mean, there's no Luke, I am your father, but it's like, oh, you were a youngling, like you were there, like that. I think that's kind of I bought that a little.
And two, you also have the loss of a main character. Obviously, in Empire Strikes Back, Han returns in Return of the Jedi. Tala and Ned B, I think, are done.
Probably.
I think they're gone for good. But you do have the loss of a main character, and I think that's true. Both of you, both the ground assault and the observation of the reveal, we're both. Yeah, no, I think
where the
that's
rebellion
absolutely
is at the end of Empire Strikes Back is very similar to this point, where they're on the run, they are escaped by the skin of their teeth. And they've got to figure out what to do next.
It is a little bit more episode 4.
Yes,
I'm gonna say
bit.
This was very much teed up like Rogue One was in some way, where Vader's chasing a ship that he's probably gonna catch. So but I think they have a little bit of a head start. If you guys have any more episode 5 kind of connections, please do comment or DM or whatever. Please follow us on the things.
Put it in the comments
and tell us what you think. I was there weren't as many
It wasn't
direct
as blatant.
connections.
like the other
Unless
ones were
we're just
very
missing
much.
something,
Maybe
which
we are.
which is very very possible.
Watch the episode for a third time.
There you go. One thing that really struck me, I will say, in this episode is how tragic of a figure Riva is. And
oh my gosh, yeah.
At the end of her fight with Vader, as he runs her through, I felt so bad for her.
Yeah.
And I can't say that I like her, obviously, as a character because she's done awful things.
You're just a fan of people that cut off hands. It's cool. Right. Like, we get it. I mean, it's like that's like your.
But to like track her journey and to see like where she was, and even to see that moment of just like this hurt, scared little girl, and to see where she wound up, and just like to come to that end, I kind of do hope she has some redemption.
Yeah.
To kind of win that back, because I mean, talk about somebody that just never stood a chance.
She kind of reminds me a little bit of I would say archetype of like Ventress in some ways.
For
very
sure.
similar to a Ventress character,
which is a Clone Wars character for those listening. Great character.
Yeah.
Won't spoil too much about her in that vein. But I really liked, and I was like, oh yeah, this is sharp when Obi-Wan goes up to like, I'm going to stall for time.
Right.
And she goes, if you're stalling for time, this isn't going to work. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Now we're going to get into it. None of that. Like, she's not dumb, you know.
Right.
I thought that was really good, and I do understand that feeling bad for her situation. But the redemption is going to be interesting because she can go two ways with this, right? She can go nuclear, right?
Yeah.
Or she can go, you know, positive and move towards.
I guess my question is do you think there's a chance for redemption and her living beyond that? Because it seems like characters in those vein have to sacrifice themselves.
No. I think she's a goner after this episode.
One way or another, I think she's a goner. I think it will also depend. I mean, it could be a situation where, you know, they left her with a lightsaber, which I was surprised.
Yeah. Half of a lightsaber.
Yeah, but
did they take the other half, or did he leave both of it?
When she picked it up, it looked like I think it had both halves.
I think she still had the whole thing.
But yeah, well, one half has the kind of the knuckle.
Yeah, the guard.
Yeah.
But I was surprised with that. Maybe they also left her ship. I could see it being a situation where if they need to get away, she either attacks Darth Vader's Star Destroyer, just to, like you said, Keith, because she realizes there is still hope in some sort of future. Or I think, she'll.
I just
she'll
thought of another theory, which I hope they don't do.
Oh.
I hope they don't have her like the rebels are about to get away in their ship, and then she just flies in and distracts like the Star Destroyer enough time, and then they take off.
I was kind of thinking that could happen.
And then they shoot her and she blows up. I would be like, please don't do that.
That's like the weak sauce, half baked version of this is where it's like, who's gonna go? Like they're down to the wire, and there's who's gonna help? And it's like she flies in, or like she flips out of nowhere, and it's like suddenly I'm better. And
I could see that possibly happening.
Yeah,
but
I can see it too.
Because also she can't fight, so she's flying. I don't like that. I can crashes it into the bridge. You know, there's that episode 6 moment.
Yeah,
yeah,
it could happen because Darth Vader's
feel great.
His Star Destroyer, the Devastator, was destroyed in Return of the Jedi. This could not be the Devastator.
It's called the Devastator.
Yes. So Vader has two Star Destroyers.
No, it's the Eclipse.
Right on the nose. Wow.
There's the Devastator, which is the one that caught the Tanative 4 at the beginning of
that's the
episode 4.
Devastator.
And then there's also the Executor, which is his Super Star Destroyer. I think the Eclipse might be somebody else's.
The guy has some serious hardware when it comes to vehicles. I mean, just because, like, for me, I just see the big gray pointy triangle thing, and I'm like, bad guy shit.
Yeah.
But I know there's much more to it. The Executor.
The Executor.
Executor? Is it Executor?
Oh, it is the Executor.
That would make more sense.
No, the Eclipse is a different ship. I'm thinking of a different one.
It's not We Murder You Enough.
Yeah, I'm seeing Eclipse class.
The Devastator, Executor.
The Eclipse is actually from Empire at War, the game.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Cool name for ship. But yeah, no, and both of those ships are destroyed during the Battle of Endor.
All right.
I believe one crashes into another Star Destroyer.
The Executor basically dive bombs into the Death Star.
Right.
And it crashes because an A-Wing basically gets through the defenses, and there's that famous line of Admiral Piet being like, intensify forward firepower. They don't do that, and then the ship basically crashes right through the bridge, and they all go up. But great quote from that character.
Yeah. Yep. R.I.P. Admiral Piet.
R.I.P. All right, so we talked about our theories. Is there anything else that we're hoping for in this final episode of Obi-Wan?
We're gonna get a sunset on Tatooine, you think?
That's a fair point. That'd be a nice way to end the series.
Original.
Yeah.
As they've ended several of the other series.
Yeah.
But I think that would be cool. I'm looking forward to see how Obi-Wan and Leia leave things.
Same.
I'm interested to see how that kind of leaves off and where they are, because obviously there's been a lot of
don't go out into the woods alone,
right, that sort of thing. But even so, in A New Hope, and obviously this was filmed 50 years ago at this point, but when Luke says like, oh, I'm here with Obi-Wan, and she sits up and she's like, oh, Ben Kenobi is here.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how they part ways, and what knowledge he imparts to her, because obviously, I mean, he's invested in Luke, but I think what the show's done an excellent job of is showing Obi-Wan being invested in Leia as well. And they are twins. There are two of them, and they both are just as important to the future of the galaxy. And I think I think they both serve different functions in how they help the galaxy go forward. But I think it's Leia is just as important as Luke.
Yeah, absolutely. Cam, what are you hoping for in this last episode?
More droids. Think, of course. Ewoks.
There you go.
I think I kind of went through it. I want to see. Well, I guess what I'm hoping for is a fight between Riva and Obi-Wan, because I think we've been kind of asking for that, and we haven't gotten it, and we've gotten very close.
I mean, evened out a little bit, the playing field.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. She does. We'll see if she's in a shape for
Somehow
fighting.
Obi-Wan's burns are not doing anything for him anymore, but that's a whole other thing.
The Bacta was powerful. He was in it just long enough.
Listen, if you learn one thing from this goddamn podcast, the Bacta is real.
The Bacta is very real, very effective.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we kind of went through it. But that's one thing I want to see, because we haven't seen that. I want her moment to be. I don't want it to just be like a forgettable moment. I want her to have some form of redemption.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
Which would also be very fitting with Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I mean, Vader can't be redeemed.
Party
so
in the
somebody's gotta
treehouse, little redemption. So maybe I think we're gonna get a ghost at some point. I know there's like Qui-Gon doesn't know how to do that. Well, I think there's gonna be some sort of ghost going on. I think that's my episode 6. Kind of like connection there. And that in that vein, I'm hoping for Qui-Gon.
Yeah, me too. I will be very
Qui-Gon.
disappointed if there is no Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
And not to put up expectations on the show, but also,
Hey, do that.
you got. I mean, you got to do that.
You gotta do that.
You kind of got to do that. You kind of got to do that.
What would you be satisfied with just like his voice?
Yeah.
Even if it's like a line at the very, very end.
Oh,
that's what I'm thinking. Like,
I'd be a little disappointed, but they gotta do something.
If it's like in Force Awakens where they're all garbled together, no. We gotta know it's Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
It's gotta sound like Qui-Gon. He's gonna say something.
Agreed.
I don't think it has to be a very long dissertation that he gives Obi-Wan, but I do. think
half the episode is it's just Qui-Gon just talking in everyone's ear.
Yeah.
So then this happens.
Obi-Wan will be down for the count, and then Qui-Gon will just be like, "Get up."
That actually might happen. Just to throw it further out there.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, he's the.
Or he says what he says to Obi-Wan, what Obi-Wan says to Luke as a Force ghost, which is, what's the line? Let go.
Yeah.
Use the Force. That whole thing.
Yeah.
Use the Force, Luke.
Yeah, that absolutely could be a moment like
Let
that.
go.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think that'd be a nice little nod.
Something like that. I like that. I would like to see Obi-Wan be put on the path of what comes after this. I would like to see them do that nod a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, apparently they
you know?
greenlit a season 2 of this, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I don't think they have.
I've heard rumors, but I haven't seen
then
anything.
It must be rumors
I mean,
still.
they were very clear about it. This being a kind of one and done.
I kind of want it to be a one and done. We don't need multiple.
It runs the longer these sort of things go, the more chance for kind of
continuity issues, and it's just things
just
get very
kind of
messy.
waning from the course, or like just kind of falling out.
Yeah.
I think the best shows, they know their beginning, their middle, and their ends, and they execute on that, and they don't try and pull it out longer than it needs to.
Right.
And there's so many other great Star Wars stories.
And there's so many great characters that you can center a show around.
We want the Haja spinoff.
Well, on top of that,
no, we don't. We don't. Disney.
Series.
I know you're listening. We don't want
It's
that.
coming.
I also just
The
don't know
Haja minifigures for sure coming.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know about the
Absolutely.
animated series, but
We'll see.
if Kamel's not a Lego in a week or two,
Oh,
I'll be
he's got
shocked.
Oh, I'm sure it's already. There's probably leaked pictures you can find online of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and true, we know that he can't meet up with Vader again. He can't keep meeting up with Vader again. And if that's not on the table, then what sort of conflict could they put in front of Kenobi
Right.
that even measures up to what
Exactly.
we've seen?
I don't
Yeah.
think we're gonna get another Kenobi Vader
Yeah.
face off though. Because,
I don't think-
because he got the trash taken out. I mean, like it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it
like
was-
where Vader is, like Riva was more. I'm not gonna say she's more skilled than Obi-Wan, but like she doesn't have the rust that he has.
She's got
and
the
she,
youth.
She couldn't stand toe to toe with him at all.
No.
She's been practicing. Obi-Wan,
Yeah.
that's what I've been saying from the beginning. He's rusty. The dude just doesn't
And
have
burned.
his legs.
And I think he's trying to
Yeah.
avoid that as much as possible.
By the way, I was really happy with how he was kind of kicking a little bit of ass in this episode with
Yeah.
the swinging and the cutting down the stormtroopers. I thought the editing in that little hallway area was a little bit, well, what's going on? What's happening? But I did appreciate him swinging the lightsaber around. So
Yeah, like you were saying, I am looking forward to seeing him kind of like solidify himself as like the Obi-Wan going forward, because seeing him in Rebels, seeing him in A New Hope, he's more confident. He
he's like,
seems
this
to
is what it
believe-
is. Yeah.
He fully believes in his cause. He fully believes in his capability to face the enemy, and that's not who we had at the beginning of the show.
Well,
I
and
think
that's
getting
interesting. We're getting that arc of like it's despair. He's kind of like he's tasked with this taking care of this kid or watching over this kid that he doesn't know. He thinks he killed his father.
Yeah.
And it's like he's kind of like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, so I'm gonna go cut meat at this place.
Yeah.
And then it's that kind of
Yeah.
I don't know what to do, so I'm gonna go hack some meat.
That's what you do, as you do.
He took the first. There was first employment openings. He
Oh
took
my
the first
God.
one he got.
Oh my god.
But it's a very interesting arc to see him get to that point where he's like, he knows what he has to do. He knows what he's doing on Tatooine. He's got to get Luke to
Yeah.
the point where he can stop Vader. And now that he knows how much of a force Vader is,
Yeah.
that's probably like, okay, now I really need to make sure this kid.
Yeah,
does what he's
I
supposed
think
to
that's a really good point. I think I just have to keep remembering, and I'm sure people out there are forgetting as well, Obi-Wan didn't know Anakin still lived until
Yeah.
this show.
We just
Yes.
assumed that.
He doesn't know anything.
No.
And
No.
so I think that whole like learning in this episode, actually, he learned that he can be beat
Yeah.
by using intelligence and using what he knows about him against him.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
sending him down that path of
That's
like,
kind of this. There's still Anakin in him. He
Yeah.
knows how to read him and
Yeah.
how to outsmart him.
yeah, and it's like that, okay, we can do this, we just have to do it smart,
Yeah.
basically.
One more thing that, sorry, just to backtrack, but another thing that I would like to see in this last episode is very similar to what I was saying about, wanting to see how Obi-Wan and Leia leave off. I want to see a moment with Obi-Wan and Luke. I'd love to see
Yeah.
just a short moment, even if like maybe if
Even if
there's-
it's Owen chasing him off or whatever.
right, or even just like or even if it's something where he gives him the
I was
the
gonna say
T16
he's got to give him that
Skyhopper.
T16. He does have that in New Hope, so he's got to get it at some
Maybe
point.
there's some sort of moment where Owen's just like, all right, like, listen, I don't like you, but, I appreciate you helping my family. So, sure, the kid can have the shit.
Yeah, that
Bale gives him some money too.
that
Yeah.
that toy, that callback, I think that's too specific. And now I'm for sure they're going back to Tatooine because
Yeah.
that they've got to put that back in there somewhere.
Right.
They do.
And but I don't want to see much of young kid Luke. I don't want. It's giving me too many.
It doesn't need to
Too
be
many
much.
episode
A line
one
or two, just a line or two.
vibes.
He can
I'm
just
like,
not even a
eh.
line. He can just look up at Obi-Wan, and that's it.
Well, I mean, we had him at the ending shot was like pushing in on Luke.
Very
so,
ominous.
But
Yeah.
Something's going to come
Also-
up with
I mean, is Riva
why-
gonna kidnap him too?
Why is Luke brunette now? Don't know. But
I don't know.
this
his hair lightens with the sun.
it does.
He's
That's the
on-
thing that
yeah.
happens.
But also, there's sun all the time at Tatooine, so it should always be like But I digress.
Yeah. That's the whole point of the show is to
Yeah.
digress. So.
I mean, absolutely true.
Speaking of all that digression, so next week, big episode finale.
Mm-hmm.
I will not be here, but these two will be. I will be via Zoom. So once again, thank you everyone for listening, watching. It's been a pleasure. And tune in next week for the final episode of the Bacta podcast,
Yes.
Obi-Wan edition.
You can see how many boxes we check this time.
I know. It'll be very interesting. Very interesting. All right. May the force be with you. Bye. Wait, hold on.
Oh, wait, clap.
Remember when I said we can't forget to do this one thing?
We almost did.
We straight up did. Ooh.